Hello. Time for a little book review. Did Muhammad exist? I was so eager to have this book that I bought it for myself when I didn't get it on the holiday where gift giving is traditional. And I'm glad I got it, and I recommend it. I'm not going to read the whole book, that would violate the copyright, and I want to encourage people to buy it. The title is Did Muhammad Exist? But he really isn't questioning the existence of somebody in Arabia claiming to be a prophet back at that time period. But his overall point is that we can't, the vast majority of the information we have about Muhammad is not reliable, and the vast majority of it was probably made up. And he doesn't just pull this stuff out of thin air. He looks at historical sources, the oldest documentation we have, the oldest manuscripts that we have. I'm more than open to the possibility that Muhammad received some degree of inspiration from God, that there was some guy in Arabia that was fighting against idol worship. And one reason I believe that is that by the time of the year 600, the apostasy had happened. There was no more Church of Jesus Christ on the earth. And I'm more than open to the possibility that God inspired a counterbalance, so to speak, so that apostatized Christianity would not conquer the world. It's interesting to note when what's his name, Ibn Kathir, who wrote Tafsir, how old that Tafsir is. It was not written in 600 or even 700 and something. And it's interesting, he pointed out, and one reason let's see. While I'm open to the possibility of Muhammad receiving some inspiration, I don't look at Muhammad the same way I look at Joseph Smith. I'm sure Joseph Smith was a prophet of God that received the fullness, that received all the details God would give the earth at that time. But I believe God could give some degree of inspiration to somebody to affect world events, while not making that person a prophet and giving him the complete truth and the complete gospel. But it's interesting, the oldest Quranic manuscripts don't have the complete alphabet. So there's one reason for us to look for a modern prophet and not follow Muhammad. We can't be sure about what he really said, because the Arabic alphabet, a couple of dots is the difference between certain letters, but they don't have any of the dots in the oldest manuscripts. And even before I read this book, I thought to myself, if Muhammad was illiterate, how could he read what the scribes wrote and make sure they got everything right? And so there's one reason to, for why I would encourage somebody to look for a living prophet and not try to follow somebody who couldn't make sure that what was written, what he claimed to have said, was accurately written down. But there's reason to wonder if the Quran wasn't written right then and was written a couple hundred years later or so, which he points out in the book. One thing that I was forced to rethink in this book was the issue of what is a huri? something like that. The things that the pious will get in heaven. I've heard before, and this book made me rethink that maybe the word hurry means a raisin or a grape. Although I still have to, and that would put the Quran in a more favorable light if it's saying that instead of go to heaven and get a bunch of sex toys. But I still have to wonder if they were talking about sex toys. The reason he said they might be the grapes is because of a Syriac or Aramaic word that sounds almost like huri or is huri and means grapes instead of beautiful sex toys. But then the Quran does start to give some description of the huri that does contradict the idea they are grapes, because it describes them as having big breasts and being very beautiful and wanting a person. I'm not aware of any fruit that wants me right now. But the one thing that makes sense if the huri are grapes is the verse that talks about the waiter, the what might be the servants, what are sometimes translated or described as the servants that the Quran says that the pious will get in heaven. That it describes as being like pearls. I'm not aware of any person that would confuse with a pearl. But a little fruit that God makes to be especially white or beautiful looking, that could be confused with a pearl or described as looking like a pearl. So, thank you for watching my thoughts based on this book that I recommend people get and read. It's good food for thought. This book doesn't make up stuff that doesn't exist, like some anti-Mormons do with making up stuff that doesn't exist. It looks at historical sources and the best evidence available to us now. Thank you. Have a good day.